Greetings from the World Ethanol and Biofuels Conference in Brussels. I'm joined by Michael Mao from Sublime China Information. How are you doing, Mike?
Hi.
So China has announced that it's going to implement an E10 blend mandate by the year 2020. In your opinion, is that achievable? And how much of the ethanol required for that will come from domestic sources and how much of it will have to be imported?
And actually, I have to tell you this. China promoted the E10 gasoline, but the E10 gasoline doesn't mean it's need to achieve the 10% of the blending rate. So China may promote the E10 gasoline in a nationwide scale, but the blending rate may reach about 9 or 8% in the end, because there are many places doesn't fit for the E10 gasoline, like the Tibet, the plateaus, and the deserts, all those areas, and the wild rural areas in China. It seems not fit for the E10 gasoline.
So is the Chinese state leaving it up to the individual provinces to decide to what extent they're going to follow E10? How does it work?
Yes. Yeah. And on our estimation, the promotion will be mostly implemented in the developed areas, like the North China, East China, and South China, and including the already covered region of Northeast China. China will cover all the developed regions, and that will bring us about 8 million tons of fuel ethanol consumption by 2020 and 11 to 12 million tons by 2025. And the production, on the other hand, it cannot catch up with this growth. This consumption scale grows too fast, and the domestic production cannot catch up with it. So the rest room will be filled by the imports, and that gives us the potential import room for this import fuel ethanol. By 2020, it might be 2 million tons, and later it will gradually decrease instead of what we considered. It might be increase, but it will decrease because the domestic production the capacity will gradually transfer into the production, and China will eventually build its ethanol production basically on its domestically produced sources.
So if we focus on the short term then, directly after 2020 when E10 is implemented, China's going to be looking for huge amounts of imports from elsewhere in the world. And typically we'd expect a lot of that to come from the US. But of course, at the moment we have trade tensions. I think there's a tariff of 75% on US ethanol. How is that going to play into all of this? Will it make it more difficult for China to implement E10?
Yes, actually we believe in a short term. That means by 2020, which is also the deadline of the national promotion project from the government. By 2020, China cannot afford that huge volume in the fuel ethanol consumption growth. So China must import a huge volume from the international market, and that leads us to the US origin ethanol, because they might be the only one who are capable to supply this huge volume to one specific country. But with you said the trade war or the trade conflict, and that tariff banned most of the import potential from the US to China. So we believe without the support from the US origin ethanol, China cannot achieve the full accomplishment of the E10 coverage nationwide.
And as China does look to step up its own domestic production, they don't necessarily have as much experience of biofuels production in China as perhaps elsewhere in the world, for instance, the US. To what extent will China cooperate with other countries, with international companies, to boost its ethanol production?
Yes, actually China has issued several policies to allow the foreign companies to build their own plants or invest in China to build fuel ethanol plants in the four free trading zones in China. But we believe China is capable to build their own plants right now. But from the technology to the feedstock, China still needs strong support from the other countries like the US and the Thailand and the Brazil. all those countries may give a strong support to China's E10 promotion in the future.
And one of the things that's been remarkable about China's energy transformation in recent decades is how far they were able to bring the cost of solar power production down. Do you think it's possible that China may be able to do the same thing for cellulosic ethanol, given that cost is the big factor inhibiting the growth of cellulosic ethanol at the moment?
Yes, actually, in the last August, China's State Council, in a executive meeting, they have issued the implementing route map for the fuel ethanol in the medium to long future. But in this route map, this is cellulosic ethanol is designated as the future of this industry. But you know, from the cost, from the economic efficiency, and from all the profitability side, this cellulosic ethanol is not very good for the current massive production in China. Actually, the only 2 cellulose ethanol plants in China has shut down because the cost is too high and the subsidy has stopped. So in the short term, we can see the cellulosic ethanol will be a main topic on the experimental side and the demonstration side. But it cannot be implemented on a massive scale. But I believe in the long term, like from 2025 to 2035, in these 10 years, China will put the major focus on the cellulosic ethanol, just like the synthetic ethanol from the coal, as the future of the fuel ethanol supply of China.
Excellent. Thanks very much, Michael.
Welcome.